All right, guys, the Utah Jazz just released a new rebrand, and it's pretty unique. Let's talk about it. Is it good? Is it bad? It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, a lot of opinions out there, and a lot of people have a lot to say about this rebrand. If you didn't already know, the Utah Jazz released their rebrand today, and it came with an interesting amount of commentary. Not a lot of people loved it. I think most people weren't real big fans of the jerseys. Now, let's talk a little bit about that, things we've read online, and just some opinions. So, first look, let's see, all right, so let's take a look. First off, this is just the jerseys. And obviously that's what we're releasing. That's what we're going to talk about. It's the most important thing. What do these jerseys look like? Even though I think there's other elements of this that I want to talk about and why I think they did what they did. The most important thing is to make sure the jerseys look good. And a lot of people weren't fans of these. Personally, there's some things I like about it. Obviously, everyone knows. Maybe I should be careful where I put my hand. Right over there, you've got the Purple Mountain jersey that everyone loves. Now, why did they do that? Well, it sounds like from everything we've read that the Utah Jazz have a contract with Nike. And when they had this initial design come and they had these kind of go through whatever marketing process they have with the Utah Jazz, it wasn't met with much. No one liked it when those leaks happened. But by the time those leaks happened, it had already been locked in. And guys, with distribution channels, once these things are created, once they're submitted, once you send them off, there's like no going back. And one of the issues with this is that, and I could be wrong, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but once you go with a design, it's there for 5 years. So this is it. This is what it is, you know? There are different variations you can do every year. So like that Purple Mountain jersey can change every year. But it sounds like the Jazz found out real quick that they did not want to go with this. But because things were locked in, they had to stay with it. And so this is kind of what it is. It looks like they might be trying to emphasize the purple. And that's what they kind of went out with their campaign today. They made it all about the purple, even though that makes up, what is it? How do my fingers work? 25% of the rebrand. 75% of the rebrand is yellow, black, and white. So obviously some things did not go perfectly. It's not ideal, and it kind of is what it is. So hopefully you guys are excited about these. Likely there's at the best, there's mixed opinions on this. Now, what's my opinion? I kind of like them. To be honest, I like the color scheme, at least. I like the black and yellow one, like the black main with the yellow text. I think they contrast well. You can, Utah Jazz. The yellow, people really seem to hate the yellow, and this white one with the yellow trim seems to be the one that people maybe hate the least. My favorite is that black one. I think that looks cool. Honestly, I like black hats, and so I'm excited. And one thing for me personally, just selfishly, I love the Salt Lake Bees. And I've always wanted I had a snapback Salt Lake Bees hat, and I went to a softball game like 6-7 years ago, and someone stole it, and I haven't been able to find one since. So your boy is going to get a black and yellow Jazz snapback hat, and I'm excited about it. So personally, selfishly, I'm kind of excited about that. The color scheme I actually like. I think the color scheme is kind of fun. I think one thing that Jazz fans were kind of probably disappointed with is that the Jazz practice facility had so many fun things going on. They had those Jazz notes and things, and they ended up going away with that. They just went with this design. And I think this is the problem that Jazz fans have, is there's not a lot to these. It's so incredibly minimalistic. There's just nothing about these that really calls to anything. I can kind of see how these are a little bit inspired by the Brooklyn Nets jerseys that are very kind of minimalistic, black and white. But these are minimalistic, but there's nothing, the Nets are a team that switched over to a whole new theme and color scheme, and it was very plain, and people seem to like it. They did a good job with their court. Like they had like the subway theme and things like that were pretty cool. but their jerseys were plain, and it looks like this is kind of going along with that trend. But the thing that kind of, for Jazz fans, there's a history there with this team, a long one, with, seeing teams go to the finals with the Mountain jersey. And the problem with these a little bit that I have is that these aren't anything, I'm not a big fan of the Mountains because I just don't think that Mountains and Jazz mix at all. Like, they're not related in any way. Jazz music from the South, and all that cultural history from New Orleans and all that stuff. And then you've got Mountains. They're just not, it's just not cohesive at all. So it makes it inherently difficult to find a brand that works for the Jazz. And it's difficult to do. In my day job, I'm a marketing manager. I actually just went through a multi-million-dollar rebrand. And it's a tough process. And I'll talk about that in a second and why I think they did what they did. But the thing that I think is disappointing for Jazz fans is that this doesn't really have anything. Like, with a sports team, you have a mascot, the Jazz mascot is the Jazz. So they don't have like a animal of some sort, like the Grizzlies or the Hawks or something like that. They don't really have an animal that can base everything on. It's off of jazz music, but you're mixing jazz music with Mountains. They don't mix. And so they didn't do either of those. And that's the problem, is you have Mountains and jazz music, and they picked neither of them. And so you just have a plain jersey that's just number, and it says what it is. It's very much like the Office, it is your birthday. This is the Jazz version. This is the basketball version of this is your basketball team. It might as well say, instead of Utah Jazz basketball team, right? So the only one that even has any sort of resemblance to anything is the white jersey that has the note, and that's possibly why people like it a little bit more. It has an actual call to some sort of mascot, but these jerseys just don't have it. And so if you go look up Andy Larson's article where he kind of talked about some things and some turmoil behind the scenes. But from things that I've heard also from people who are connected with certain people, it sounds like there was some issues, and they went with the Mountain jersey to make it better, which kind of is conceding that they understood that the fans didn't like it. And so they're trying to give the fans something they can be happy about. So if you're a Jazz fan, just embrace the fact that the team is trying to give you what you want. They know they probably made a mistake, and they're giving you the purple Mountain jersey, which everyone really loved. So this whole new brand, not cohesive. Now, those are the problems with the jersey. I personally think I like the color scheme. I think this is the beginning of something pretty cool, and I think they should, if they can fix this next year and pay a fine of some sort to get over that 5-year rule with Nike, that would be incredible. Please, Nike, let them do that if they can. I think that the Jazz, if they're not going to change their name, which they are not, then I think they need to do what they did with the practice facility and have some sort of something calling to jazz music. I think the Jazz actually have to get rid of like Mountain themes, because it just does not mix with jazz. It just doesn't. It's like mixing ketchup, a savory sauce with frosting. They're just two different things. On their own, good. Together, bad. And so that's why I just think this is a difficult project, but they didn't go with any of them. So in my day job, I'm a marketing manager. I just went through a complete rebrand, multi-million dollars. During that rebrand, and this is the company I work for. It's not a sports team. And we were able to spend tens of thousands of dollars doing research, finding out what our customers wanted. The Jazz don't have that luxury in a way. And ironically, Qualtrics, that Ryan Smith owns, is this company that does research. But what's hard is that if you do this research, if you send fans these things, it's going to go out there. It's like a leak, and then everyone talks about it, and you've got Twitter and social media talking about all these things, and you've got the social media accounts that put these out there. And so they can't really send out a survey because everyone's going to know they're rebranding, and you're going to create an issue. So they kind of have to do this behind closed doors. Someone at some point needed to get into these meetings and say, this is the problem with this. This is why you've got to change. And they weren't able to do that. And so that's kind of a disadvantage for the Jazz, is they don't really have that opportunity to do that. Otherwise, you're just leaking to everyone with what you're doing. And in a way, maybe that's what they just need to do. Maybe to fix this jersey, They just need to go out to the fans, Qualtrics, let them know they're changing it. Let them know that this is what we want to do. Let us know what you want, what colors you want to do. And then whatever is the majority choice, go with it. That might be the thing they have to do, because at this point, it hasn't really been great. It's too bad. But here's the thing. All right, we've talked about what we don't like. Let's switch over to the screen here. Okay. Now let's talk about things that went really well with the rebrand. It's coming with 2 different courts, and this is the first court that we're seeing. Fantastic. I mean, that Purple Mountain jersey, anyone who is mad at the white, yellow, and black, well, guess what? You get the Purple Mountain jersey, and it looks like they're going to use it a lot. So we're going to see this court, which, by the way, is a callback to Stockton Malone. It is a beautiful court. The purple really does pop. And then you do see elements on this court of the Utah Jazz, that new look. And my assumption is that this is kind of what the look is going to be like in the future, although I still think this needs a little bit of work. Ryan Smith, luckily, has a lot of money, is going to be putting a lot of money into the evolution of this brand. But I do think this court is beautiful. And this isn't even my favorite court from the rebrand. This is the callback purple court that will look good. I am really happy they're bringing back the purple paint. I have, honestly, one of the things I've hated with the latest Jazz brand is that the paint was empty. There was no actual paint in the paint. And so they're bringing that back. Looks fantastic. The other thing, and this was the best, is this court. And this is why I'm all in on black and yellow and white, because I think if they did a good job, it could look incredible. This court is beautiful. Look at this thing. This is a work of art. This is the best part of the rebrand. And it's why I actually think when the players are on the court in their jerseys with this court underneath them, it's going to look beautiful. The yellow jerseys that everyone's like ragging on are going to contrast so beautifully with this black paint. It is going to look so nice. And I do like the colors. Like, personally, I like the color scheme. I'm fine with yellow, black, and white. I personally am not, in the end, I care about who's in the jersey a little bit more than what the jersey looks like, but I think this color scheme looks really nice. And these yellow jerseys, when the players are wearing them, are going to look nice against this court. And I think this look does look good. I think they just got to work with those jerseys. They obviously do. They need to add something. A logo, for one, would help. But I think this court is beautiful. If you look at this black, if you look closely, you can see lines that go across. I hope that is something that shows, that stays, and that's not just a graphical thing. I actually hope that shows up when they actually put the court together, because I think those subtle lines in the court look really nice and add some nice depth to this court and adds a nice texture. I love the yellow there. It just looks really clean and nice. The black note does look good. And then if you notice, you have this white silver note right here. I'm not quite sure what this is. It looks like someone's head, like their hair right here. Doesn't that look like someone's head? What is that? It's like they took a selfie in the mirror and that's their fuzz. But anyway, you've got the white up here. It looks really cool. Just incredibly well done. I really like it. Looks nice. And that's why I think, honestly, people might end up liking this. And, if it doesn't, we know that the Jazz will eventually change it anyway, but you might as well get used to it, because this is what the jerseys are. It is what they are, guys. All right, well, that's all I got. I wanted to talk about it. Everyone's been talking about it. I thought I'd walk through it a little bit and give my thoughts on what I think. And I think it looks like it has actually some potential to be a lot better than people think, especially when the jerseys are actually on the court. Oh, and finally, I wanted to add one last thing. I think the other reason they went with this is because I think this has a chance to have some really cool apparel. Like, I know these don't look great, but this type of design where it's kind of plain like this will allow the Jazz to make all sorts of different apparel that they can sell. Hoodies, t-shirts, hats, like we already talked about, and all sorts of designs. And who knows, maybe we start seeing t-shirt designs that look really good, and maybe that evolves and we get some sort of jersey based off of the apparel. But I think one of the ideas with these jerseys is the fact that they will be able to create apparel with these jerseys that a lot of fans will be able to buy. Lots of different variations, and we've seen even different variations of the purple for the Jazz. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. All right, guys, that's all I've got. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. Just a final thought. I kind of am changing how I'm going to do these videos a little bit, these produced ones. We have the live streams during the season, but the off season's a little different, and I need to figure out a way to get some consistency with things. I am actually going to start trying to do these in the morning because that's when I can find time to do it. And my work schedule that I've mentioned actually gives me some time in the morning when I wake up to actually do these. And so that's my goal, is to try that. Hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. Send me angry messages, just not ones that hurt my feelings, all right? If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and a shout out to our all-stars and all the members that support this channel. I really appreciate it, especially in this off season. I will talk to you guys next time.